Many are curious about the reason for the retirement of Dr. William Franklin Graham III, a prominent figure in Christian circles who retired at the age of 73. His fascinating life story, from his indomitable youth to his influence as a global pastor, will also be covered. The incredible life story of this powerful figure and the millions of people he helped through his humanitarian efforts will also be covered. What was his life like? What caused his death? Let's take a brief look at the life, ministry, and humanitarian efforts of Dr. William Franklin Graham. Franklin Graham's early life and transformation. Franklin Graham came into this prominent Christian family on the 14th of July, 1952, as the son of the renowned preacher Billy Graham. Growing up in a Christian home, Franklin was exposed to Christian principles. He grew up in the shadow of his father's enormous heritage, which brought with it an unusual blend of expectations and luxury. Furthermore, the Graham house served as a meeting spot for Christian leaders and missionaries, which further enhanced his early exposure to religion and church life. However, something else took root in that same setting, and it was the foundation of his revolt against the principles he had been nurtured with. Life took a sharp turn for Franklin when he entered puberty. Despite all that had been ingrained in him, these were a time of defiance, wild parties, smoking, and heavy drinking. The adolescent Franklin was more than just defiant. He struggled with a lot more than that. He needed to break away from the influence of a respected preacher. His expulsion from an expensive New York Christian boarding school was a result of his continued inability to fit in. His carelessness continued to worsen. He was notorious for his class fights, reckless driving across North Carolina and Montreal, and general disobedience while he was a student. Franklin put on an air of self-confidence, but he was haunted by an inner emptiness that his life decisions had brought about. Even though he was a Christian at the time, he realized that he had been resistant to God's direction for his life throughout this period. He yearned for independence, the ability to enjoy himself without being shackled by his religious beliefs. He was so egotistical in his quest for pleasure because he believed he could only achieve fulfillment by doing something that was fundamentally at odds with his upbringing. But Franklin discovered that the more he lived his ideal life, the more hollow he would eventually feel. When Franklin Graham traveled to Jerusalem at the age of 22, he experienced a change of heart. He didn't really get it until he spent a night alone in a hotel room and had some clarity. Instead of going out for a drink like he had intended, he felt obligated to read the Gospel of John. In this reading, he encountered the concept of being born again, and it really resonated with him. It was at that time of self-reflection that Franklin saw sin was really controlling his life. Realizing that his decisions had veered him off track, he realized that he was doing absolutely nothing right. His perspective on faith and personal responsibility was profoundly affected by this. Franklin knelt that night and prayed. After coming to terms with his sinfulness and placing his faith in Christ, he realized he could no longer go down the road of rebellion, which had left him feeling hollow and despondent. His way of life was immediately transformed by that act of giving in. To put his newfound beliefs into practice, he decided to change his life's trajectory. This life-altering event caused Franklin to feel a calling to the ministry. Beyond the obvious blessing of being the son of a famous evangelist, he started to seek God's purpose for his life. His early experience with evangelism via the Billy Graham Evangelistic Association and his desire to carry on his father's work were major influences in his decision to pursue a career in ministry. Franklin learned the ropes of evangelism and outreach while he was an undergrad at Appalachian State University, where he assisted in his father's ministry in a variety of ways. He became increasingly active in mission work as his religion grew stronger. Bob Pierce, one of the founders of Samaritan's Purse, invited him to accompany him on his first overseas mission trip. This sparked a fire under Franklin to help those in need, and it led him to the idea of spiritual outreach as an integral element of humanitarian work. In the midst of his call to ministry and subsequent revival, Franklin devoted innumerable hours to studying the Bible. His goal was to go more deeply into the Bible and find practical applications for its teachings. There was a great deal of emotion involved in the pursuit of knowledge. As he continued his career in ministry, he realized that faith is a belief put into action. The Bible was more than a book to him. It served as a guide for him as he put his new religion into practice. After being deeply affected by his beliefs, Franklin Graham decided to dedicate his life to ministry. His compassionate nature was welcomed at Samaritan's Purse. participation in Samaritan's Purse, and dedication to mission. Working as a leader, humanitarian, and servant in some of the world's most problematic locations, Franklin has dedicated a significant portion of his life to his work with Samaritan's Purse. At the age of 26, upon Bob Pierce's death, he was appointed president of the organization. It went beyond just switching out the title. It was a turning point that would shape his entire life. The Samaritan's Purse, founded by Franklin's father and initially focused on missionary work, expanded under Franklin's direction to become a multi-billion-dollar organization, providing help in more than 170 countries. A mission journey to Asia would mark the beginning of his ministry, but it was also his first encounter with the terrible reality of war, starvation, and natural catastrophes. He dedicated his life to helping others after his ordeal, instilled in him a strong desire to do humanitarian work. After becoming president in 1979, he vowed to continue Pierce's work of sharing Christ's compassion with people in desperate need. The dedication to his duty, Franklin understood, was more than just a humanitarian gesture. He aimed to meet people where they were, spiritually as well as physically. This dual emphasis has been a feature of many humanitarian and outreach initiatives in which Samaritan's Purse has participated. In the aftermath of natural disasters like hurricanes and earthquakes, the group has spearheaded international relief efforts. In response to the Ebola epidemic in West Africa, Samaritan's Purse organized medical teams and built treatment centers. Spiritual support was also provided to the impacted populations. In addition, the group helped displaced families by sending volunteers and materials in the aftermath of devastating natural disasters like Hurricane Harvey and Katrina. During times of need, Franklin Graham's extraordinary dedication to his humanitarian activities shines through. However, he is not only an aloof operations executive who issues directives, he is also an active participant in humanitarian efforts on a global scale. There is always an example of servant leadership when people go with teams into battle zones or to areas that have been affected by natural catastrophes. The fact that he is prepared to travel to dangerous locations demonstrates his commitment to reaching people where they are, both physically and spiritually. He frequently recounts the impulse he had to help the downtrodden and neglected after hearing a call to travel to the world's ditches and slums. In addition to his work in direct disaster relief, Franklin was instrumental in establishing foundation-funded initiatives to aid communities in their post-disaster reconstruction efforts. For instance, in the aftermath of devastating natural disasters, Samaritan's Purse prioritizes the construction of homes and roads, in addition to meeting immediate needs. It ensures that communities not only recover spiritually, but also aid themselves in the long run by taking a comprehensive approach. Franklin is a leader that is approachable and encourages teamwork. The significance of collaborating with neighborhood groups and churches in every town they visit is his primary point of emphasis. Through partnerships with regional groups, Samaritan's Purse can tailor its help to the unique cultural norms and material requirements of each community it serves. For an effect to last, it is necessary to empower people. Frequently, local churches are in the greatest position to provide this kind of ongoing support and discipleship. Both professionally and personally, Franklin faced his share of hardships throughout his tenure at Samaritan's Purse. However, he remained steadfast in his religion. The success of Samaritan's Purse, he says time and time again, is due not to financial whims or careful planning, but to fervent faith in God's provision. His festivals sparked a worldwide revival, spreading the gospel to millions and redefining evangelical outreach for a new generation. While working with staff and volunteers, he impressed upon them the importance of faith in their work, creating an organization not only for them to develop a personal relationship with God. Graham's ministry flourished. Impact of Franklin Graham's festivals on evangelical outreach. After relying on church and local Christian efforts for a while, Franklin Graham has been a tremendous boon to the evangelical campaign. Since he held his first evangelical event in 1989, he has been in charge of more than 325 festivals in the U.S. and 55 other countries. Crusades are large-scale gatherings where the gospel may be preached to crowds of thousands, if not millions. Franklin went into detail on how these events matter for the community's effect and transformation, rather than simply the number of attendees. By adapting and improving upon the framework of his father's crusades, Franklin has ensured that his festivals continue to thrive in the modern world. They often span many days and cover various aspects of the curriculum through music, testimony, and preaching. The event is a must-see for thousands of people from all walks of life because Christian singers play there. A call to repent and put faith in Christ is extended at the conclusion of each festival. Many people make decisions at this pivotal moment that will affect the rest of their lives, shaping their spiritual journey for better or worse. The celebrations have taken on a deeper, maybe historic significance in places where Christians are either persecuted or practiced in small numbers. One distinctive aspect of Franklin's celebrations is the significant role played by the local churches. Church and community leaders in the area work together extensively to prepare each event in advance. Collaborating in this way makes the outreach more than just a one-time thing. It sets the stage for ongoing ministry in the neighborhood. Following the festivals, local churches play an important role in introducing new believers to their congregations and providing them with ongoing assistance as they grow in their religion. The local church takes responsibility for its role in evangelization and discipleship through this ministry model. Interestingly, research has shown that these celebrations have a transformative effect on entire communities, not just on individuals. According to studies, localities that have held Franklin festivals have seen an increase in church attendance, revitalization of local ministries, and different forms of community involvement. As a result of what has happened, Christians all around the world are banding together to proclaim the gospel and spread the love of Jesus Christ. Believers can better understand their role in the greater narrative when they come together as a community and are inspired to give their all in all that they do. At the same time, Franklin Graham's approach to variety demonstrates familiarity with, if not social media sites, then contemporary means of communication. The proliferation of live streaming has allowed these events to expand to a worldwide scale. Virtual participation allows a wider range of individuals to take part, since those who are unable to attend in person may still have their opinions heard. As was the case during the COVID-19 health crisis, the modification has shown to be especially helpful in situations where it is not feasible to physically meet together. In addition, Franklin is a well-known figure among evangelicals and has frequently expressed his opinions on several social topics. It is because of his willingness to tackle such contemporary moral conundrums, ranging from discussions of religious liberty to issues of social justice, that believers have begun to engage in conversation about the intersection of culture and faith. By doing so, he pushes Christians to not only speak about their religion verbally, but also to demonstrate it via their actions and how they apply it. It is possible to observe the long-term effects of Franklin Graham festivals in the increasing participation of young people in evangelism and in the regular activities of churches. The young people who attend these meetings are profoundly impacted by the things they hear, particularly by the experiences that are told by the speakers. By the time they leave, they have gained the confidence to share their religion with others in settings such as the workplace, the classroom, or online spaces. This is a generational transition that is required to ensure the future of evangelical outreach, to prevent it from becoming arrogant and unfit, and to ensure that it continues to be dynamic and relevant. Franklin Graham took advantage of technology to spread the gospel as the digital age began to emerge. He did this by utilizing tools like social media, live streaming, and innovative outreach to communicate with people all over the world. In comparison to the previous years, the global communications environment has undergone considerable changes, and technology has surpassed the evangelism that was prevalent during Franklin's father's age. As a result, Franklin's approach is drastically different from what was prevalent during his father's time. His commitment to embracing new modes of communication has been fulfilled, which has allowed him to expand his sphere of influence and communicate with a wide variety of organizations across the nation in a manner that is far more efficient. A fast forward to the present day reveals that this adaptation likewise emphasizes electronic media. However, the most important things are live streaming and social media. These have evolved into vital conduits that are used to disseminate the gospel in ways that go beyond the conventional methodologies. The worldwide missions component of Franklin Graham's ministry has been significantly impacted by the many technological developments that have occurred. His influence extends across the globe, even to continents that are not the United States. The quick and direct manner of connection with believers in the near vicinity of the newly established churches has made evangelism easier, allowing participants from different regions of the world to coordinate their efforts properly. Franklin Festivals is a prime example of how modern communication practices may facilitate the accomplishment of worldwide goals. In addition to being carried out just at large stadiums, this is also carried out online, which enables individuals from cultural backgrounds that are linked with the event to get the message simultaneously. When it comes to live streaming, translation services make it possible for the gospel to overcome language barriers or act as a bridge to communicate with a target audience that is comprised of individuals who do not understand English. Because of the realization that evangelism needs to be contextualized while still being rooted in the fundamentals, the commitment to being inclusive reflects this recognition. On the other hand, Franklin considered cultural relevancy to be an additional essential component of his outreach approach. He is aware of the significance of successful communication, and he is aware that modern challenges and cultural dynamics are factors that contribute to the requirements for excellent communication. In most cases, the messages that he continues to convey to his congregations resonate with his listeners. These messages are typically about relevant social concerns of the day, moral dilemmas, social justice, or personal considerations, and they are all solidly anchored in the Christian Bible. Those members of the younger age who are looking for genuineness and significance in their relationship with God will find this appealing. In addition, Graham's festivals emphasize the importance of community engagement as how to leave an enduring legacy that continues to reverberate long after the activities themselves have concluded. The efforts of local churches, not only in the organizing of these festivals, but also in the follow-up that occurs when guests make decisions for Christ, make it feasible for these festivals to take place. It is already the case that he has formed a partnership with a church network in order to provide new believers with ongoing discipleship. This is done to ensure that they do not just return to their hometown after having an emotional experience at a festival of the highest kind. Through his involvement with the local church, Franklin contributes to the formation of long-term discipleship and growth. Franklin Graham's humanitarian actions increased in response to the growing demands of a broken world. He offered essential assistance and relief in the face of natural catastrophes and other catastrophic events that occurred all over the world. Humanitarian efforts during global crises. The continued implementation of evangelical policies is a manifestation of the legacy that Graham's evangelism has left behind. How many churches carry out outreach has been altered as a result of his commitment to combining evangelism with humanitarian action. His work in assisting as the president of Samaritan's Purse, he has shown compassion throughout several significant calamities and has committed himself to becoming a servant to people who are suffering as a result of natural disasters, conflicts, and other types of emergencies. As a result of his organization's leadership in delivering both urgent help and long-term rehabilitation, it has become a model for effective humanitarian response because it demonstrates how compassion and operations can be brought together to achieve the desired results. The aid that Franklin Graham offered in the aftermath of the tragic earthquake that struck Haiti in 2010 is one of the most noteworthy examples of his humanitarian reaction. There were many fatalities and massive destruction as a result of the earthquake with a magnitude of 7. The nonprofit organization Samaritan's Purse sent out emergency teams to provide medical care, food handouts, and housing for those who were affected. Benjamin Franklin traveled to Haiti not long after the earthquake struck, where he assisted in immediate relief activities on the ground and assessed the requirements of individuals who were afflicted. Additionally, his contribution served as a reminder of his devotion and contributed to the instigation of additional relief efforts from other individuals and organizations. Similarly, Franklin has played a major role in the Syrian refugee crisis that is now gripping the globe today. He has been delivering relief to individuals who are fleeing from violence and persecution. The response of Samaritan's Purse was to extend the mission to Lebanon and Jordan, two countries in which millions of people have sought sanctuary from the civil conflict and require fundamental help such as food, housing, and medical care. His idea that the gospel ought to be accompanied by acts of compassion was emphasized by the fact that he called for churches to provide both physical and spiritual assistance to refugees. In addition to ensuring that emergency aid was accessible, this dual effort also worked to guarantee that essential community ties were being developed for the sake of long-term recovery. In addition to these particular circumstances, Graham has constantly demonstrated his dedication to working with local churches and international non-governmental organizations to ensure that assistance distribution is carried out more efficiently. Through direct collaboration with local groups, Samaritan's Purse is able to respond to the specific needs of the community while also maintaining all of the medical procedures that are currently in place. In the middle of the chaos caused by the crisis, A glimmer of happiness appeared as a result of Franklin Graham's Operation Christmas Child, which provided excitement and enthusiasm to children all over the world by distributing shoeboxes to them. The initiative is known as Operation Christmas Child. Since it was first established in 1993, Samaritan's Purse Operation Christmas Child has been providing children all around the world with humanitarian assistance and global outreach programming. A straightforward yet profound concept was the impetus for the initiative, which was to provide shoeboxes filled with presents to children in need all around the world, thereby demonstrating to them the love of God via a tangible gift. First, a guy from England phoned Franklin Graham and asked if he would be willing to assist in filling shoeboxes for children in Eastern Europe. This was the beginning of everything. This discussion was actually the impetus for a movement that has, in the years following, altered the lives of millions of people. As a consequence of that inaugural collection, which resulted in 28,000 shoeboxes, the Organization for Children's Charity has sent more than 220 million shoebox gifts to children in over 170 nations and territories all over the world. The act of giving presents is only one aspect of Operation Christmas Child. It is about bringing happiness and a glimmer of hope to youngsters who may have never been so fortunate as to receive a gift before. School supplies, hygiene products, toys, and comments from the packers are included in every package. These notes provide an additional layer of personalization to the gifts. Through the distribution of shoeboxes by local churches, this influence not only helps to meet the pressing needs of those in need, but also makes it possible for the gospel message to reach its intended audience. They get the chance to hear the message and to take part in a discipleship program that offers spiritual follow-up with each shoebox that they receive. Children all across the globe have been profoundly impacted by the work of Operation Christmas Child. Since the beginning of the initiative, millions of children have become recipients of Christmas shoeboxes, and by the year 2023, more than 11 million shoeboxes packed with gifts had been gathered all across the world. It is anticipated that an additional 12 million youngsters will be reached by the year 2024. More than 220 million children have received gifts from the Organization for Children's Charity over the previous 20 years. These shoebox presents were collected by individuals who wanted to make a difference in the world. Not only does it fulfill the requirements of the body, but it also fulfills one of the most essential requirements of every soul by means of its discipleship program, which is referred to as the greatest journey. The youngsters have been engaged in the course for more than 10 years, and more than 40 million of them have participated in both learning about faith-based ideas and practicing how to put such beliefs into practice. It is only through the first-hand experiences of the recipients themselves that the significance of Operation Christmas Child is further emphasized. There are hundreds of children who have shared their experiences of getting shoebox presents and how those experiences altered the course of their lives. Each shoebox is presented to a kid with the assistance and discipleship of local church members. This is accomplished via the efforts of thousands of volunteers working in churches all around the world. For this cooperation, involvement in the community is encouraged, and the participation of local churches will include an emphasis on both evangelism and humanitarian help. Volunteers are responsible for the management of this ministry's program, which entails packing shoeboxes throughout the autumn and making it easier for individuals, families, churches, and groups to pack shoeboxes during National Collection Week, which occurs every November. In addition to the traditional shoeboxes, OCC has embraced contemporary trends by offering a portal via which anyone may construct their shoeboxes online. It is possible for individuals who are unable to physically pack boxes to still participate in the process by selecting suitable presents for children who are in need of assistance through this option. Despite the fact that making purchases online is simple and that it is physically available to a large number of people, the personal touch is maintained by including a letter and a photo with each virtual package. A significant number of volunteers have contributed during the year, which has contributed to the success of the program. Samaritan's Purse is responsible for organizing more than 540,000 volunteers all around the world to assist with the distribution of shoebox gifts on an annual basis. This specialized equipment guarantees that the procedure, which includes everything from packaging to shipment, is carried out promptly without sacrificing any of the quality control measures. Although there has been some opposition to Operation Christmas Child, it has been successful in achieving its goals. There are also some opponents who argue that even if it may be commendable to offer presents, the purpose of doing so was only to provide an excuse for conversion-related ulterior intentions that were behind all of this. On the other hand, proponents argue that it is essential to simultaneously disseminate the gospel of Jesus Christ and offer practical help to establish a comprehensive ministry that caters to the physical and spiritual needs of individuals. Above and beyond the pulpit, Franklin Graham's unyielding views provoked both adoration and controversy. His loss and anguish tempered his determination, presenting a leader who was fashioned in faith. Controversy, personal loss, and influence are all factors. There is a convergence of faith, politics, and social concerns, as seen by the degree of public power that Franklin Graham possesses, as well as the controversies that have surrounded his ministry. Although Franklin Graham is a guy who is easily avoided by public and private religious leaders, how he conducts his ministry and his readiness to participate in public discussions over social concerns have elicited a variety of responses from an audience. His strong support for former President Donald Trump and many of his ideas related to LGBTQ rights, immigration, and Islam have made him a controversial figure. Franklin Graham has struggled to balance public perception with his religious beliefs. His association with people like Trump has led to accusations of partisanship, which contrasts with the legacy of his father, an apolitical politician. The decision has been met with opposition from all sides, and even members of his family have expressed concern that he is straying from the message of love and tolerance that his father, Billy Graham, was known for. In addition to arguing that groups like Black Lives Matter contribute to social problems by promoting contempt for authority, he has spoken out against same-sex marriage, describing it as a sin against God. These are positions that have found a natural audience in evangelical religious groups whose followers share such ideas, but they have also divided and alienated some because they are controversial. Those who disagree with him still believe that his words simply oversimplify one of the most complex social issues facing us today. In both incidents, there was a great deal of public outrage. There was widespread condemnation of Franklin's actions by prominent evangelical theologians and missionaries, who saw it as a means of diminishing the message of evangelicals in society. For example, respected individuals such as John Piper have raised the issue with the public, asking how Christians can support a leader whose actions are morally inconsistent with biblical moral principles. More broadly, the question being asked in evangelical circles is whether Franklin's ties to other politicians have undermined his ability to communicate with a skeptical world that exists outside the church. In addition to the public issues he has been involved in, Franklin Graham has also experienced profound personal tragedies that have shaped his views on ministry. As the leader of the Billy Graham Evangelistic Association, Franklin Graham's life and leadership underwent a significant change when his father died in September 2018. This event marked a significant turning point in his life. In addition to his role as a parent, Billy Graham was also a source of spiritual guidance. Franklin emphasized the burden of obligation he felt to continue the family tradition while navigating the complexities of contemporary ministry as he reflected on his father's passing. Franklin was motivated to reflect on how hardship influenced his religious path by his personal experiences of suffering. On more than one occasion, he shared the story of his father's perseverance in the ministry of the gospel, even in the face of difficult circumstances, and how it motivated him to continue his work. He also shared how his father overcame difficult times. When things got tough, Franklin often spoke of praying for comfort. This was something Franklin knew to be true from his own experience, as he often mentioned that faith played a significant role in overcoming difficult situations. Therefore, even though this feeling of faith not only affects his very existence but also affects how he functions in the public arena, where he encourages others to pull themselves up with an uncompromised God, Franklin's experiences with loss have also affected his approach to public ministry. Knowing that many people are coping with their troubles, whether it is sorrow, loss, or the constraints of society, he utilizes his teachings to tackle these realities. He is aware that many people are battling with their issues. Through the sharing of his own experiences of sorrow and redemption, he seeks to connect with others on a more profound level, therefore offering words of consolation and hope that are founded on religion. Franklin Graham's ministry has been the subject of a variety of narratives as a consequence of the mix of these forces, which include both public disputes and personal losses. The fact that he is willing to take part in the discourse of society is evidence of his dedication to finding solutions to the significant problems that are now being faced by modern society while yet being faithful to his evangelical background. This participation, on the other hand, has resulted in a cost, which has caused divisions inside his family as well as among the smaller evangelical group. The constant disagreements that occur within the Graham family are the situations that most illustrate this split. The political ideas and language of Franklin have been publicly criticized by a handful of Franklin's family, who have expressed their concern that it would bring their grandfather's legacy of inclusiveness and love into disrepute. This internal tension serves as a reminder of how firmly held personal views might come into conflict with public ministry, creating difficulties that extend beyond the perspectives of particular individuals. Can you share your opinions about Franklin Graham and the humanitarian efforts that he has made? Notify us in the comments section, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel.